Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. 3 Hues Painting Studio. Come paint, sip, and party at 3 Hues. Visit our website today at 3hueshouston.com.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Docs on the Sphere. I am Dr. Ashandra Batiste, and we are here to educate, empower, and inform you about health and wellness topics that we find important and that you have asked us to talk about. Thank you for joining us today. Like I said, my name is Dr. Ashandra Batiste. I am a dentist. I do own a dental practice. It's called Elite Dental Wellness. It's in Southwest Houston, the corner of Fondren and Westheimer. You can find me on Instagram at hotdoc.com and Facebook and Twitter, Ashandra Batiste. Today we have a special co-host. Well, she has returned to join me today. And so she's going to be a returning figure every time that Simone has decided that she wants to once again gallivant. I do talk trash. I do, because I tend to be here, but it's because I have actually nothing to do. So so I appreciate Dr. Richmond for always coming in and having great topics. So by all means, for the people who don't know who you are, can you please share?
Hello, I am Dr. Teriya Richmond, and I have my own practice. It's named after me in the 3rd Ward at 4302 Dowling Street. And I am also family medicine board certified, and I focus mostly in women's health, but I am well versed in some other areas as well. I'm a mom and a wife, and I am ecstatic to be here again. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So Dr. Richmond was here a few shows back, and we discussed women's health and the things that we kind of deal with, and she shed some light on some amazing things for us. And today we will definitely be talking about a topic that I feel like has kind of fallen back into the background, or into the gray, or into the kind of gray noise that the world is full of now, but HIV and AIDS. And is it still something we should discuss? Is it still something that we should be concerned about? And I think that now that you have people like Magic Johnson that's living with it for as long as he has, it makes it less scary to some, or what's going on. So I do think it's a great topic to have for us today. However, I would love to discuss everyone's thoughts, or our thoughts. And if, if you're on Facebook Live with us, by all means, jump in and say, hey, I have some thoughts and ideas. Michelle Carter, she was today actually charged with manslaughter in the death of her boyfriend. Her boyfriend committed suicide after a text thread that they had been going back and forth with, and she was being very non-supportive of his life. She was very much so saying things like, get back in the car, because he did it with carbon monoxide in a parking lot, and he was pumping his vehicle up with carbon monoxide, and he has now, of course, passed away. The defense for Michelle said that it was based off of the fact that, for her, she was having a bad reaction to her antidepressants. Her boyfriend had also tried to commit suicide in the past. So this was not the first time that he had done this. And they were both teenagers at the time. I think she's now 20, and she now faces up to 20 years in prison for this involuntary manslaughter charge. What are your thoughts about this? Like, what's going on with our children today when they are either dealing with depression or words can be taken as far as it has, or in this case, as it has?
I think for our youth, a lot of times, unfortunately, the support is not there, right? And when we say, or when her defense was her medications were not, or she was having an adverse reaction. Well, what does that mean? Were the medications not working? Was something missed? And they are trying to support each other, and it sounds like they don't even have it together. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. The youth are depending so much on one another. And, those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts are not totally mature because of where they are in life. And so for them to be basically responsible for one another and clinging to one another, in that sense, to me, it says that they needed support from someone somewhere, and that speaks volumes for our youth, because they do need support. They do need mentors. They do need doctors to make sure that their medications are working, that there aren't adverse effects, that they're actually taking them.
Sure.
And of course they can't, go to their house every day and make sure of that, but certainly conversations need to be had. And so unfortunately, this situation happened, and, of course, my condolences to the deceased family, but it just says to me that our youth just need more support.
And part of this, what kind of hurts my heart even more than, it's a hurtful story. Mm-hmm. What it brings to the forefront is these children, these kids that have, suicide is with these youth, with under 18, is rampant. Just rampant. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this young man, he clearly also had some depression issues. Mm-hmm. He clearly has been on medicine that was not working for him. Mm-hmm. And for me as a parent, and you're a parent, yes. What do we do? How do we make sure that our children are being taken care of and they're getting the right influences? Because this was all via text.
Right.
Our children walk around with their cell phones in their hands. Mm-hmm. It's on their bodies. They can delete, they can hide That's stuff. True. Yeah. How do we know that they're putting good stuff into them and rejecting out the negative stuff? Because this young man, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. So I would assume parents have met them. Mm-hmm. If they're anything like me, like I'm gonna be like, where they live, what's the address, what's the social, what they mama do, what they daddy do.
Yeah.
I need fingerprints. I need eye scans. Like I need a whole bunch of stuff. But even doing all of that, it seems like some of these children still have such a unfortunate pathway that they're on, or path that they're on. Mm-hmm. And you have a girl that told him when he got out of the car, she said, "You have been talking about this for forever. It seems like today's the day." Mm. Mm. She said, this is a quote that Carter wrote to Roy, which is the young man who committed himself. "You can't think about it. You just have to do it. You said you were going to do it. Like, I don't get why you aren't. I thought you wanted to do this. The time is right and you're ready. Just do it, babe." Mm. What do you do with that? And so she's now 20. Of course, she's sobbing in court. She's emotional. She's upset, of course, because now her life is potentially over. Mm-hmm. But she did nothing to help her boyfriend. And the judge just found that it was not the course of text messages that caused the death. It was Carter's insistence that he got back into the truck. Because when he said, "I don't want to do this. I'm not feeling good," she didn't say, "Okay, we need to talk
about it. Let's meet
Let's meet up. Where are you? Yeah. Let me find you." She said, "Get back." She said, what did she say? Hold on. She said, "Get back in the truck." And I just find that to be so disheartening. I find it to be so disheartening, and I find it to be something that our society is dealing with a very severe mental health crisis, and our children are affected even more strongly now than they've ever been, or maybe that it's ever been recognized. And now we need to figure out a way to help our children.
So, going back to what you initially asked about how to basically fill in that gap for our babies, and how do we help support them? How do we fill out what they're doing, how they're doing it? And, we assume that most parents are like us, right? We want to know the address. You said scan the eyes. You want to know all of that. But a lot of times, unfortunately, particularly if the parents suffer from mental illness as well, or are not available, or not around, or in the system themselves. I mean, there's a lot of variables that could play into why these kids basically were dependent on each other.
Yeah.
And one ended up dead, and the other one, her life is basically over.
Yeah. And I mean, they actually only pretty much had an electronic relationship because they met in Florida while they were on vacation with their families. So they didn't even live close to each other. They pretty much only communicated electronically and had only met in person a handful of times. So now you're talking about, this computer love generation that we have, where it's like meet on Tinder, meet on Plenty of Fish, meet on all these places that, why not? Cool. Right. And then you have this, I mean, of course, they didn't meet that way, but they were communicating only electronically. And you wonder, you have to start asking questions on, when does that become unhealthy? My daughter just got her first cell phone. It was not my necessary decision. Her father, who I'm divorced, we're divorced, he decided to buy it. We had a conversation about it. I was adamant about no, but I mean, what do I do? Like, it's his money. He's probably just tired of calling me to get to her. Like, that's pretty much direct. Yeah, it's like cut out my ex-wife,
the middle lady.
Husband, right?
Cut her
my
out.
husband was like, perfect.
That works.
Like,
yeah.
Great. Y'all need to be talking no way, right? So he's ridiculous. But, now, I mean, and we don't have, she didn't get an iPhone, which I'm glad she didn't. She got like a cheaper, it's still a smartphone, but iPhone to iPhone, you can like connect. And so you can kind of see these things. And now I have to figure out how to put spyware on. I'm going to have to talk to Gary, the tech geek, and let him instruct me on how to make sure that I know everything that's going on. But wouldn't that have been interesting if, as he's texting these things to his girlfriend,
it's intercepted.
Yeah. In a way that they don't even know they're being watched, right? But then it's like, oh, now we're talking about privacy, and I'm like, oh, my child don't have privacy.
Yeah, we didn't have privacy growing up. Like, no,
you
can
privacy?
even close the door. Yeah, no.
Girl, my parents threatened to take the hinges off so many times. This my house. Ain't no closed doors in my house. What you doing on the phone in the bed with the sheets
over your head?
I was threatened a lot.
With
that. And so the fact is that we now have a situation that has turned, not homicidal, but involuntary manslaughter. And you wonder how we could have done as a society, as parents, as what's influencing these children to be in the state of minds that they're in. And then how can parents help? What if there would have been spyware on the phone? All these things that you could have done to kind of say, I don't want my baby to be getting influenced in any negative way. And if he is texting someone saying, I'm about to kill myself,
would hope
that somebody would have stepped in. And so unfortunately she didn't. And now she faces up to 20 years, which is, I mean, it's too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
It's really too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
I say that with like, kind of, my heart breaks for her. So, the topic of the day. What is HIV? Why are we still talking about it? Why aren't more people talking about it? We're going to talk about PrEP. We're going to talk about sexual behaviors. We're going to talk about who is now the person who gets AIDS. What does that look like? HIV. What does that look like? My growing up and it was scary.
Oh yeah.
It was scary. You know, you see movies like Philadelphia. You know, shout out to all of the 80s babies and 70s babies in the room. Shout out to them. But that movie petrified you.
Yes.
Because you're like, I don't ever want to get that. But now I feel like society sees people walking around that are healthy.
Like Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson is the number one face that we see, that he's still making gazillions of dollars. And he has a disease that 30 years ago, we were all like, right? And so give kind of like your doctor, but not Dr. E, speaking in language that the layman can understand. What is HIV and how is it and why is it? Let's just remind some people.
Okay.
Of how is it and why is it? It's then termed AIDS.
Okay. So HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. And that is actually the virus that causes AIDS, which AIDS is a condition. Okay. And so just because you have HIV does not automatically mean that you have AIDS. And I think that's why we don't talk about it as much, because back then it was like if you were positive with HIV, then you have AIDS and you go probably die in the next 6 months. And so everybody was freaking out about that. But the truth of the matter is, and we still don't really know how Magic Johnson is being treated, or was being treated initially, but it was like, okay, so he has HIV. He hasn't, at least as far as we know, he hadn't turned into the condition AIDS, and he is just still around and he's okay. But it could have been because of the advancements, his access to the advancements of medicine, right? And so, and at the time, everyone still did not have access to those medications.
Sure.
Well, now, HIV medications are pretty readily available.
Sure.
And so the face of what we thought or knew of as HIV/AIDS has totally changed, right? I can't remember her name, but she's from Chicago, and she contracted HIV from heterosexual sex. Okay. But she was a light-skinned girl with the long hair that went to the good school, and when you would see her, you would not
never
think.
know.
You would never know until she would express that she's HIV positive. So the face of HIV has totally changed.
Completely changed.
And so I think that's why the conversation is not coming up. But the truth of the matter is, it's still
prevalent. It's still happening.
It's still happening.
Yeah.
There is a very good chance that if you have unprotected sex, that you can still contract HIV.
Well, I will tell you that it still scares the crap out of me. Like I've always said, I can't go into being single again. I just can't. If I become single by whatever means or measure, I will just become a nun. I mean, I'm a cuss, I'm a drink, but
you won't be.
I can't.
You're done. You're done.
The streets are ruthless.
Yeah.
However, this portion of the show is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million of Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they do not have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask us how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services. Perfect. So I think that there's some myths that are still out there, right? How to get HIV. I think people aren't as scared about it anymore, but there's still myths about how you contract it, right? So you can only get HIV from someone who's already infected with HIV. There's no other way to get it. There's no other way. You cannot inhale it. No. You cannot eat it. No. You know, there's it's not as easy to contract. You have to be intimate with someone who has HIV. Touching someone is impossible. HIV cannot survive outside of the body.
No.
That's something that I think people don't really understand well, that there are some viruses out there that can last long on surfaces. So like instruments, bloody instruments and things like that. Hepatitis is one of them that can survive a pretty long time.
Outside of the body.
Outside of the body. But HIV cannot. It just doesn't. It has to be kind of like mucosa to mucosa.
Has to have a host.
Yes.
Has to have a host.
So that's always been one of the more interesting pieces to me about HIV, because it's not like you sneeze on someone and you get it. And yet it's still so prevalent. You can't get it from sweat. You can't get it from tears, urine, feces. Like, you cannot get it from those. You can't get it from mutual masturbation, which I'm like, ooh, child. Ooh. Mutual. So that means both of us? Like, is that two? Is everybody doing this? Like, is that what we're doing here? So you can't get it from that. You can use sex toys, but you have to make sure that there's new condoms between switching partners. You can't get them from bugs.
No.
Like a mosquito. So if a mosquito bites somebody that has HIV, you can't get HIV. These are all the things that I feel like people may even still think, especially things like insects, because, I'm worried about Zika right now.
Right,
like, I'm like, oh Lord, they say I'm supposed to wear long sleeves. It's hot. It was 100 degrees today. I'm not gonna get Zika. I'm a faint
first,
right, and then get chewed up by the mosquitoes to get Zika. So I think that mosquitoes and insects are something that people kind of have a misconception about. I also feel like things like coughing and sneezing and spitting, because I mean, of course, I work in a field with a lot of very close interaction with the mouth. And so it has been several times that I've had a patient that has admitted to having HIV, and that doesn't happen often. People will hide those things, right? So you have to treat everybody like they have something that will kill you. Right. And so I remember my hygienist specifically was doing a cleaning, and it was just a prophy. So it was not blood. It was just saliva. And it splattered onto her, like the space between like your goggles and like the mask, which is only, I mean, the chances of something getting there is it's very low. And she was ready to like go
test it and get started.
Get started on
it's a retroviral.
Yes,
she was ready.
She was ready, and I'm like, honey, it's 0% chance that you have HIV. Like, there's not from this situation. I can't tell you about what you're doing in your personal life, right? But there's 0% chance that you have HIV from spit landing on your cheek. And no blood, not going into your mouth with blood. Like, but she was freaking out.
But I would freak out too, though.
Would you?
Yes. Even though I know the facts, I would. Oh my God.
Is it the spit or is it the HIV? Which one?
Both. Oh. It would be both. Even though I know it would be both.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would freak out. Yeah, initially.
Really? You would have your knee-jerk reaction would be like, oh my God. Oh, well, there you go. So, I mean, even clinical professionals who deal with it all day long I don't. I just kind of, I'm like, Lord, if this takes me out, if the spit on the cheek is going to take me out, well, then it's going to take me out. Like, that's, this is how Jesus wanted me to meet him in glory, is the spit on my cheek.
Yeah. How did she pass? With the spit on her cheek.
So, of course, new and sterilized needles cannot transfer HIV because they're new and they're sterile. If the needles are cleaned and sterilized properly, they cannot transfer needles. So even if you have a used needle, but it's been cleaned and sterilized properly with an HIV patient, and that goes for any instrument we use. So it doesn't matter if I used all these instruments on HIV, Hep C, Hep B, every kind of patient on that patient has everything. I sterilize it properly. it cannot affect you. Okay. So it also can't survive in water, which, once again, it has to have a live host. So all these things are things that are live hosts type concern. So if you don't have a live host, and water would not be considered a live host, so you can't get it from swimming pools and bath water and you know, people drinking your bath water, you can't get it from that. Toilet seats, door handles. I mean, it just doesn't survive on anything that does not come directly out of a human into another human. And so I think that people have to get those kinds of things out of their head, because I do believe that when we first heard about it, it was like airborne. It might as well have been the flu.
Right. Yeah. If somebody coughed on you, it was like, oh my goodness, there's a chance I could have gotten HIV or AIDS. And so, so that certainly used to be a lot of the way we thought. But I think we've come a long way. And I did want to say specifically what the HIV virus does. It attacks the cells, the cells in your body that help to fight off infection and even fight off cancer. The HIV virus actually attacks those cells. They're called the CD4 cells. And if you are HIV positive, we actually monitor those cells to see if your medications are working. We can kind of tell if you're not taking your medications. And they also help us determine if you may be transitioning into AIDS.
When those CD4 numbers get really low.
When they get really low. So.
And so we're going to continue talking about this subject. It's still a lot more to discuss. So by all means, thank you to everyone who's watched us on Facebook Live. We appreciate your support. We ask that you subscribe to our show. So after this, we are going to continue our discussion, but you can subscribe to our show and get the rest of it. And also find all the rest of our shows that we've had. Dr. Richmond was on a few episodes ago, so you can catch up on her and hear her fantastic knowledge. She's just a well of knowledge.
Thank you.
So by all means, subscribe to us, which is it's on all the major platforms, which include, of course, iTunes and SoundCloud and Google Play. And Stitcher. So by all means, subscribe. Review our show on iTunes with constructive feedback. We would really appreciate you guys to go and let us know really how you feel about it. I mean, be honest, be constructive, give us positive reviews, give us things that you want to hear about. If you don't like the fact that my nose gets itchy during the show, by all means, let me know so I can take a Benadryl before or whatever, let us know how you feel. Please share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family. I mean, people need to hear this information. These are the things that are killing our community. So share this. Share this. Listen to it in your car. Listen to it while you're at work. But share this with your friends and family. And please donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can go to the Sphere, www.thesphere.tv/donate, and donate financially, please. We want your opinion, so donate those, but donate money as well, because that's how we keep the show running. So by all means, donate. And thank you for following us on Facebook Live. We're going to continue this conversation. So Dr. Richmond, tell me what these numbers, or you feel like these numbers are really looking like. Do you feel like they're increasing in certain communities, decreasing in certain communities? I mean, I do know that there's about 1.1 million people in the U.S. I mean, and now these numbers we can only assume are about accurate. Of course, just like diabetes, just like hypertension, people don't go to the doctor to get treated.
Right.
And so we're only dealing with people who we know. So we have about 1.1 million in the U.S. that are living with HIV, and 1 in 7 of them actually don't even know it. From 2008 to 2014, the estimated number of annual HIV infections declined by 18%. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Okay.
And of course, this last piece, which breaks my heart, is that gay and bisexual men, particularly the young African-American gay and bisexual men, are the most affected. And so I have a patient that is so he sells pharmaceutical drugs specifically to HIV AIDS doctors that treat it. And he's amazing. I think he's a funny guy, and he's very smart. He's been doing this a long time. And we always discuss this because I don't work in this community, although I would love to. I just don't. We discussed who's he seeing now? And he told me straight up, he was like, I don't see heterosexual men and women in these clinics anymore. It's all young black men. And I'm like, what? And he said the other piece of it is a lot of these men are still having sex with women because there's still this whole stigma of, you know, being gay in the black community. And so then they're infecting, of course, women, but not at the same rate that they're infecting each other. And so him and I just had a really interesting conversation. So the numbers that you're seeing, or the numbers that you've been around and the years you've been practicing, have you seen this shift?
So I want to initially piggyback off of what you said as far as the statistics, and we'll go into the groups that are, you know, mostly affected within this group, but the group still to this day, even with the 18% decline, I'm not sure how they counting, because they not counting us, right? Okay. And the numbers may be a little bit skewed, because the truth of the matter is, African American community, whether straight, gay, bisexual, we're still at the top of this epidemic.
Okay, so do you think this is just, let's just kind of maybe try to take this apart a little bit.
Yes.
Do you think that with the severe decline in heterosexual sex getting it, and the non-African American community kind of being more careful and more cautious, and so that means that if that percentage used to be whatever 40%, well, now that percentage is down to 5%, but ours is either steadily climbing or it stayed the same. And so when you do that math, it looks like there's a decline,
right?
But in our community, it's either the exact same or it's going up,
right?
Okay. All right. So that's kind of what I would assume as just a, you know, you have to kind of be a statistician when you read this.
Right. Exactly.
You and I know this. Like when those stupid commercials that say 4 out of 5 dentists choose, you know, Crest. I'm like, y'all
which dentist did you talk to?
What you mean? I don't like Crest like that. But you have to be able to pick that stuff apart. I don't work in the community. You do. So you've seen that it's not really our community that is being on the beneficial side of this 18% decline. We are steady or growing.
Absolutely. So in 2015, 45% of the new HIV diagnosis were in African Americans. Point blank period, across the board.
So 25% of new cases, is that what you just
45%.
said? 45% in 2015?
Yes.
Oh, half?
Yeah, it's really real.
Okay, so I just want to make this clear for the people who are just listening. In 2015, I'm just going to bump it up to half of the new cases were African Americans.
Yep.
Of all HIV. That and we don't even attribute to that kind of population number.
Nope. As far as in general, and versus the way the demographics of the United States, we're not that many of us. Yeah.
So we're killing each other. Lord.
Yep.
All because of sex?
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing to me.
Well, sex, and then of course
IV drug use. Yeah. So that's another way to get it, of course. So IV drug use and sex, those are the two major ways. I mean, you know, it used to be transfusions back in the day, but that doesn't
really happen.
That doesn't really happen. Well, at least in America,
in America,
you know, American medicine has prevented that, but 50%.
Yeah, and then we talked about AIDS. When we talked about AIDS, and AIDS being a condition that that occurs from having the HIV virus, 48% of people who are diagnosed with AIDS in 2015 were African American. So not only are we getting we're getting the virus more rapidly, but we also are at a heightened rate. We're also suffering the most from it. It's us.
Like, we're actually not only acquiring the disease,
right.
HIV, we're dying from, or we're not even getting either the proper treatment. Or we are ignoring it for so long that by the time we go to the doctor,
it's full-blown AIDS.
It's full-blown AIDS.
Yep.
And that's 50% as well.
Yes,
that was 48%.
Yep.
Those numbers are petrifying to me.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking, and I have to pull this up because I never heard this. And I was on Instagram, which me and Instagram need to break up at some point, but we still go together right now. Mm-hmm. And there's this guy that I started recently following, and he had this post about HIV/AIDS, and he pretty much said, "Look, like I know that most people are gonna disagree with this, but." He feels like HIV is a hoax and so is AIDS. And that black folks are quick to say, I know HIV is real because, the world has told me so. And despite the fact that HIV never existed, on planet Earth until it did, like it sprung up, and that we're basing all of our knowledge on something that could be kind of conspiratorial, right? And so he just goes on to say how there's a history of kind of diseases being given to the African Americans or minorities, or when America was co-inhabited, that diseases were given and it killed people who weren't used to these diseases, and that AZT is the drug that kills, not HIV or AIDS, right? So there has never been an autopsy found that someone died of HIV/AIDS. Death only occurs after a doctor diagnoses you and gives you the killer, and he makes it very clear that he feels like that's the killer AZT. So to me, I'm like, wait a minute. If this is something that people feel, now mind you, I know conspiracy theorists. Mm-hmm. If this is some stuff that's being discussed in the African American community, God help us. Mm-hmm. Because now you have somebody telling you that's not real.
Right. Yeah.
Don't take AZT. Medicine. Mm-hmm. It's going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, like, have you heard of this conspiracy theory before?
So I've heard of a similar sentiment. Not totally that. I hadn't heard the part about that AZT actually kills you. I hadn't heard that.
You like how I threw that in there? You like keep her on her toes.
She keeps me on my toes because I hadn't heard that. But certainly that HIV/AIDS was created to basically demolish the black community. But there's also the thought that maybe as well that it's to destroy the gay community as well. And if that is the case, the statistics go along with it.
Right. So like the person who's trying to battle the conspiracy theorist doesn't even have the statistics to say you're wrong, because people die of HIV.
Exactly.
They actually die of HIV. And you're like, well, no, you don't really die of HIV. Because what are the ways that people, when the CD4 cells get brought down to nothing, then your body, you die
just can't fight. You can't fight off infection. So then that fear of someone coughing on you is really, really, really real, right? Because you can't fight off pretty much anything.
Right. So that cough that I have right now, that's, it's just allergies.
Okay. I'm
not viral.
All right.
But somebody who would get it from me, that could turn into full-blown pneumonia, and boom, they're done. They're gone.
They're dead.
So let's give some people some options on how they can be on the Sphere and advertise. Because this portion of the show is actually sponsored by the Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at the Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. I will say to any business owner out there that I have recently gotten a patient who was very excited and was motivated to start treatment based off of the Sphere.
Oh, awesome.
So if
Very
anybody
good.
says, does it work? I can say so far it does. Elijah just gave praise hands in the back. So Elijah and Gary, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
So if you want to advertise, by all means advertise. So I think that if we have this kind of, and it's not fair to call it ignorant, because I don't feel like this stuff is ignorant. I was just blown away by it because I had never seen it. I had never heard it. I had never in my life was like, what is this and how do people think that this is man-made? I just had never heard of it. And that just could be because whatever, I'm not in this community or in the medical field, a traditional medical field, to have heard about this like this. And so my fear is that if people are actually believing something like that, yet they still have behaviors that lead them to get HIV, which it's whether it's a conspiracy theory or not, or who made it or who came up with it or how it got here, it's still here.
It's here.
So if your behavior doesn't change, so you don't believe in it, but your behavior doesn't change.
Right.
Well, and then you don't take the medicine because you feel like it's going to kill you. Then you're going to die.
Right. It's going to happen.
You're going to die.
Your body just can't function.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. It's going to happen. Going back to the conspiracy theory and whether this is, HIV/AIDS is here to take black people out or gay people out. Again, the truth of the matter is it's affecting those groups. And I wanted to point out that approximately 40% of gay and bisexual men who are diagnosed with HIV are 13 to 24 years of age.
I'm sorry, what was the percentage of that?
40%.
13 to 24?
Yes.
And these are gay and bisexual?
Yes.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. And like you said, I think it's about just having the conversation again, bringing it up, like really talking about it, getting out into communities about the black community and our whole taboo. Because we're not talking about it. We're missing.
Are we missing the mark on having the conversation about HIV? Because my patient, the gentleman that I was talking about before, he was saying that these kids do not fear HIV, but they fear herpes. They don't want to get herpes.
Okay.
But I'm like, you get HIV by having unprotected sex, and one of the ways to get herpes is by having unprotected sex. So they would rather somebody that they're about to sleep with and have unprotected sex with say that they have HIV, and versus them having herpes.
Interesting.
Because
yeah,
you have,
why.
we might as well bring it up now. Is that there's a medication out right now called PrEP, and PrEP is a pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Yep.
Okay, or PrEP. It's a way for people who do not have HIV, but who are at a substantial risk of getting it to prevent an HIV infection by taking a pill every day. The pill contains two medicines, which is tenofovir and tenofovir, and what's the other one?
Amitriptyline.
There we go. Thank you. See, that's Dr. Richmond speaking. That are used in combinations with other medications to treat HIV. And so, I personally feel that there's kind of no way to prevent herpes, and herpes is external. You're a male or a female, you have a herpes breakout on your genitalia. It's like, ooh, right?
Yeah.
Don't touch me with that. Get away from me.
Because you're shedding.
Because you
and you are
don't look healthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Versus HIV, you can walk around and have HIV and be completely fine.
No one will ever know. Yep.
And so you have these 13 to 24-year-old African American men that are gay and bisexual that are walking around saying, I can prevent HIV. and no one, even if I get it, no one has to really know that I have it, versus something like herpes that I have an outbreak, everybody or my partner knows, or the risky behavior that I have is now evident. And I just feel with PrEP, this is just my personal opinion, that it kind of gives a stamp of you don't have to change your behavior to protect yourself from HIV. And then it leads to that kind of persistent and consistent behavior with another person or other people who don't take PrEP. So they're still having sex with each other. And even though you're protected, you're not standing up and saying, I'm going to live a life that is, you can still have sex, but at least it's not reckless.
So the conversation has to be had between the doctor and the patient who is who's being started on PrEP, and it is more effective if you wear condoms. Point blank. Period. And so I'm not sure that I totally agree that the behaviors will be either the same or worse, because I can see where you're coming from, but certainly the conversation is had that, hey, you still need to use condoms, because not only are you protecting yourself with PrEP from HIV, but there's still other sexually transmitted diseases and infections that you can get from sex. So there's that part of it as well.
And I think that and this is just me kind of speaking, not based off of any conversation or anything that I've ever read. I mean, anything I've ever read, any facts, that people are kind of afraid of a couple of things when they're having unprotected sex. They're afraid of having a baby that they're not ready for.
That's true. Yeah.
Or with a person they don't want to have a baby with. And they're afraid of like kind of probably just two STDs, HIV and herpes. And if they're like, man, I'm gay, so I'm not having a baby. Right?
Yeah.
So you eliminate that, and then you eliminate the HIV chances, and then you're like, well, you don't have herpes, let's get it on and still kind of be reckless. That's where both of us are taking PrEP, and I take hypertension medicine. I'm supposed to take it every day, and probably once out of every 2 weeks I forget. I would assume that with PrEP, you need to be more on it.
So with PrEP, you actually are supposed to take it's one pill, one dose a day, but you're really supposed to try to take it every day at the same time. Similarly to like when you take a birth control pill. Yeah. And so there is that level of responsibility from the person who's taking it. You have to take it every day at the same time. Yeah, we can make this argument too that similar to the human papillomavirus vaccination, that would encourage young girls to be more sexually active because they're protected from the HPV virus or from the virus. So, there's the give or take, and looking at these statistics, it almost feels like we gotta do something.
And I get that. I get that. So. Hold our thoughts for just a second, because we got to talk about Three Hues, because Three Hues is an amazing place where people can go and have some fun. So this portion of the show is sponsored by Three Hues, and comes paint, sip, and party at Three Hues. Join a party or book your own private event for kids or adults. Let Three Hues help you create your masterpiece on canvas step by step. A painting party is perfect for any occasion. A church function, wedding showers, team building, Girl Scouts, earning their badge, date night, birthdays, or anytime you just want to have fun. Ask them about their summer camp programs, kids clubs, special events, and wine glass painting events. Did we mention that Three Hues is mobile too? Yes. You can go to the studio or they can come to you. Visit their website today, 3hueshouston.com. So one of the things that you were saying was kind of the comparison of the HPV vaccine with PrEP. And I 100% agree. Like we've talked about this before. Right. You and I did actually, about how I'm definitely going to make sure that my daughter gets this HPV vaccine, because why not, right? And I think that the case can be made that it's pretty much the exact same thing. However, if let's just talk about the 13 to 24-year-old young male population that is kind of in the increase, and 50% of new cases are them. How can I ask a 13-year-old young man, like HPV is one shot, right? How can I say you're 13, you really shouldn't even be having sex? But on top of that, when you don't brush your teeth at night, because teenage boys don't brush their teeth.
They don't like to. They don't like to.
Yeah, they don't like to brush
It
their
starts
teeth.
preteen actually, and then
It's like they just stop. They don't care for years.
Right.
So I say, okay, wait. Let me go ahead and ask you to take a pill every night or every morning at the same time. More than likely, that's not going to happen. Versus a vaccine that I would, if there was a vaccine to prevent HIV, like HPV, I'd be like, why not? Let's do this. Knock it out. I don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. I think that the conversation also needs to be about what is going on, that we have such a sexualized community, and that 13-year-old boys are having gay or heterosexual sex. Why is this population suffering the way it is for sex? What is it about it that makes it so uncontrollable in our communities? And that to me is the bigger question, because you're talking about PrEP, you're talking about how we can help, you're talking about what is it that we need to do. PrEP is great, and I agree with you. If somebody was like, we have to do something. And this something is PrEP. However, there's still a whole bunch of people that don't have access to PrEP. There's still a whole bunch of people who aren't going to take it correctly. So it's kind of like fool's gold. You have PrEP, and you're taking it like, people's birth control fail all the time because they don't take it for real.
Right.
They take 2 or 3 because they missed 3 days. And so you're not really being adequately taken care of. And so my hope is that instead of us kind of trying to treat the symptom, we try to treat the cause. We try to find out what is happening in our communities, Black, especially young Black men, and gay and bisexual men, specifically, that it is not hitting home to them that they are killing each other for an orgasm. It's a big question.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
I know.
That's a lot of meat.
That's a lot of meat. It's a lot of meat, and it makes because women, and I'm not saying that we don't want an orgasm, we don't love them, we don't need them. However, what is going on in this gay community and bisexual community that makes them put all caution to the wind and say, to give me some, I'm gonna take this risk.
Chance, yeah.
In a community that or that you should know is at risk.
And we may have to talk to someone.
We should,
because I don't know that
we should. I have a friend that's an HIV/AIDS advocate. She goes around and talks to HIV/AIDS communities and healthcare providers. I think I'm going to try to get her in here because I think that she would have some perspective on why we have this epidemic in this specific community. What is it? From what I've seen, it's the lifestyle. It is.
It really is the lifestyle. And how do you change people's lifestyle?
Right.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Without not without coming off judgmental, without any of that, and just saying, hey, just slow down a little bit.
Well, and I do believe that this community does feel judged. And I think that that's unfair because, like I just said, all of us, well, most of us, in this room are sexually active. It is a part of relationships. It's part of love. It's part of it's an intimate thing. And I'm not saying that I've made the best choices in my life and y'all are better than me, so y'all have been great. However, I can speak from experience and be like, no, I haven't made the best decisions in my life. However, I was never putting myself at risk. And so why is that that caution being thrown away because he's sexy and y'all in the club? Is it partying hard? Is it drinking? What is happening that is letting your guard come down like that, where you're like, HIV is not so bad because I can take drugs and be okay.
And I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Although Carter's Caucasian, but what is it about the young people where they're just like, it's whatever. Let's just do what we do and go with it. And what is missing, whether the young person is gay, heterosexual. What's going on?
Missing? What is this piece that's missing in these 13, 24-year-olds that are causing them to make decisions that affect them tremendously? And so, I mean, I feel like this is a topic that we can talk about for 3 hours, but we only have, a few more minutes. However, I would like to say that today's breaking news made me feel amazing about being alive. Like, this is the time to be alive, right?
This is the time to be alive.
Even though there's been a whole bunch of other crap that's going on, I've decided today to pluck the brains of the people in the room to refocus me on some good news. And Amazon just acquired Whole Foods for like something stupid.
I think it was 33 or 16?
$13 billion.
Yes, get it together.
I'm like, first off, I don't need I just need one meal and I think I'll be good. But you can acquire Elite Dental Wellness for much less than that. But so now you're talking about Amazon, which we've talked about before, I feel like in this room, about how everybody's going to shopping online. Amazon, I mean, I'm an Amazon Prime member.
I am too.
There you go.
Yep.
It's life, right?
It's whole life.
So now we're talking about changing the game on how people can eat. Because actually Whole Foods has been struggling a little bit, which is,
I know that.
Yeah, they've been struggling because now they're not the only place to find organic and healthy food because it's been brought into HEB, it's been brought into Target, it's been brought into other places, and so you don't feel like you can shop kind of and get your kind of junk food and your healthy food in one versus going to Whole Foods and only getting healthy. And so they've now sold it. And so now you may be getting Amazon packages of your healthy food, which for me, I'm so excited about for multiple reasons. One, Avery and I were just traveling through a food desert in Houston. And so pretty much I was on my way to a graduation party. I forgot to get a card. And I wanted to find a grocery store to get it from because I didn't want, there's corner stores, all that. I was like, no, I want to go to a grocery store or something. It took me 20 minutes to find a place. And I ended up going to a CVS instead. And I was explaining to Avery, I said, Avery, look around. And she's like, I was like, no, I need you to see what I see. You see churches, you see
liquor stores,
you see cash checking
I was
places,
going to say the cash checking.
And you see cell phone places to get your cell phone. That's all you see. And I said, Avery, where do you think people get their milk from? And she was like, and I was like, the corner store right there. Yep. And she was like, but Mom, I was like, yeah, like that's where they go. She was like, there's not fruit in there. It's like, there isn't. So what makes me happy is that maybe some of these people, because these people still shop on Amazon. They get their stuff. They're Prime members just like you and me. Yep. It would be nice for them to now have access to a place that they can get some healthy food. Now, will they? Who knows? Right. But at least now they have some potential access. So the fact that Whole Foods and Amazon have combined, I mean, it's going to shut down so much other stuff, traditional shopping that we're so used to. I love going to the grocery store by myself, so I need all grocery stores to stay open. It is a retreat for me. Hate bringing my kids to the grocery store. I always end up spending way too much money. However, I do think that this is an amazing thing, and I feel very excited about what this means for shopping and healthy foods. And they're talking about now being able to provide pharmaceuticals too as well. Like, will Amazon do that through Whole Foods? Who knows? So we'll see. We'll see. So by all means, once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to say that I called her like 2 days ago and said, I know I'm last minute, but can you help out? And she's like, yeah, what time? With like 7 work? And I'm like, if it works for you, I will make it work. So I just want to say thank you. And we appreciate it. I know our listeners and viewers appreciate your input. So please tell everybody how they can find you and reach you.
Sure. Again, I'm Dr. Teriya Richmond, and I have my own clinic in 3rd Ward, Houston. You can make an appointment at 713-453-6962. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Mocha Millennium Woman, and I have my Facebook business page as Teriya M. Richmond. You can follow me there as well.
And for those who aren't following her on Instagram, get your life together because she is super fly. I'm like, what?
Like, how did you get that all together?
Why are we doing this? Why am I following her? I don't know. Thank you again. Thank you so much for everybody who supports us. I am Dr. Chandra Batiste. You can follow me on Instagram at hotdoc.com. I'm not as fly all the time as this thing over here, but I do try.
Yes, you do, and you look beautiful all the time.
Sometimes my eyebrows aren't on, but
me either. Don't worry.
You can follow me on Instagram at hotdoc.com and Twitter and Facebook, Chandra Batiste. I do all my own dental practice. It is Elite Dental Wellness. You can make an appointment at 713-789-8680 or go to the website. You can also make an appointment through there, which is www.houstondentalwellness.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing your feedback and subscribing. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.